Oh, you take a little piece of footage or sweep the camera around to see the lovely gum trees of
Scenery.
the scenery. There's a... Hey, Wairang. When you're not calling. Wairang has come, the crow has come to oversee us, to make sure that I'm not talking nonsense. Wairang is the guardian of, one of the guardians of this place. Kanyala? Yung beri ni jabuja. What? Ay, ada mah. No good. Yeah, nothing. What? Speaking a bit of crow.
Yeah.
Welcome, particularly those people that are not here. They'll be watching this online. So I've just asked, if I could start by asking if people have visited the Learning Management page. There's not much on there because it's not the kind of unit, it's not the conventional unit, but you'll find the study guide and you'll find things like footage. If at any time you have questions, or when you have questions about the unit, please feel free to ask them, either in the workshops that we share together or through emails, the best way of getting me. And if you would like me to make one of these, if you're not sure, if you'd like some more explanation about the project or the project proposal, don't be shy. Say, Dave, can you explain this and can you post this up? So that's why I've set up an LMS for the unit. But otherwise it works a little differently. We'll have a series, or I've scheduled a series of workshops. We might not need them, but we'll see how we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first of all attend to the study guide in a way to help explain what this unit looks like and what's expected of you. Now we've used this unit for two kinds of people who have two similar related needs. There are those who are interested in doing some more research on something that they've, over the last 2 years, they've gone, oh, I've done an essay on that, and I'd like to pursue that a bit more. But they either don't have the points or they don't want to make it too big. So Frederick, for example, he's doing a 12-point dissertation, which is 4 times the size. And that can be pretty daunting, and it'll, in many ways, it can be daunting for some people. You're going, oh, I'm interested in going a bit deeper, but I don't want to go that deep. So those are the kinds of people that are interested in it is not. It is now. Just singing out to the Wairungs and singing out to the Nyungas walking past. So for people that are interested in doing a nice little project to sort of dip their toe into research work, and or there are some people who need to graduate by the end of the year and they're 3 points down. So is that one of those or both of those you?
One.
You're 3 points down. Okay, good. So we're using this unit to support you to do what you need to do, which is very much what we like to do in community development. You've got needs, we'll figure out a way. So this unit will serve either of those purposes. If you're watching this and you're either needing to fill 3 points up or you're interested in a small research project, because we do both. Well, that's how we fill the 3 points up. Let me ask either of you, what you know about what's expected in the unit.
We need to do a project about something.
You need to do a project about something.
Yeah.
That's it. Actually, that's what we should write in the study guide. That's really clear, really succinct, and without all those silly words that you often get in study guides. You need to do a project about something.
Yeah.
That's a nice way of putting it. What else do you know about the unit?
So I'm not 100% sure if we really need to do the real research or we just progress on.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. So you're not sure. So it's some kind of research project,
But
you're not sure
if
whether
we
you
physically
need.
to go
Yeah,
and
yeah.
do. Yeah.
Good. That's good because that helps me know how to respond.
Yeah.
And how about you?
I think what I think is an individual project, not group, and maybe a research project based on particular event. I think
Okay. Yeah.
that's what.
Yeah. Good. All right. Well, that's a good place to start. So you have to do a project about something.
Yeah.
As I said, much better way of writing than the language we use in study guide lingo, which I happen to think nobody understands. So it's a unit where we're inviting you. Here's another way of describing it.
Yeah.
So here's an invitation. Invitation is to do a project about something that interests you.
Yeah.
And that's come out of, and this is a recommendation, that's come out of your 2 years of study.
Yeah.
So you've read material, you've listened to lectures, you might have written an essay or a journal or conducted something and you've thought, I'd like to do some more, I'd like to do some follow-up work.
Yeah.
Or this is an area that I'm interested in reading more about.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. So a project about something that you're interested in, that relates to your studies. And that could be, it could be a community development project, it could be a social policy interest, it could be a particular group, it could be a piece of technology or a methodology, or it could be anything that interests you. So that's what I'd add to your description. I like yours better, so I'm just putting a bit on the end of it. Let me say a couple of things about research. Universities often use the R word, and actually what they're talking about is something very specific. You'll probably go on to be encouraged to follow a particular set of, if you call disciplines or practices that are associated with the social sciences, maybe. And research in this unit is much more general. Research really, if you look at the history of the word, it's to find out, to uncover, to research. So you're searching for something. Another word that I'd use is, following the work of Paulo Freire, is curiosity.
Yeah.
Research is having a curiosity about something and then following that curiosity.
Yeah.
Now, I think the university should allow you to follow everything that we've just been saying, but that's between you and your supervisors. So I'd use the word curiosity to throw on that. This is a project about, doing a project about something. Doing a project about something that's driven by what you're interested in or driven by your curiosity.
Yeah.
Can I pause a minute, and does anything come to mind? And you've got much more than instant response to this, but does anything? Yep.
I would like to do abroad tea, like when we buy tea in Australia, it's quite expensive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. That's yeah, I mean I'm just asking you today, you don't have to stick with this, but that would be an excellent example of a project that you're curious about and you're wondering how it is.
Yeah.
And so a project could follow that up.
Yeah.
I'll say some more things about this. At the moment, I'd put in the word small. So this unit is about a small project, about something that you're interested in, or a small project that you're curious about. So you could take that curiosity and apply it to a 12-point thesis.
Yeah.
You could then take that 12-point thesis and apply it to a PhD.
Yeah.
So at that point, it would go from small to medium to large.
Yeah.
So what I also said was that if I'm going to record the workshop discussions that we have, and if you've got questions, send me an email, and if you'd like me to make more videos, short ones to explain, because if you have a question, there's a good chance that others will have a question, the same question too. So I'm happy to make those. The LMS, have you visited the LMS? Curiosity, something that you might be interested in carrying out some, we'll call it research at the moment. Research is a word that has a particular meaning often in a university, and sometimes that meaning can scare people. But really it comes from the idea that we need to find things out, or the act of finding things out, searching again.
So my curiosity is for now like back in my country Bhutan. So we usually sustain, the government sustains from hydro project
Uh-huh.
for the development. So
Yes.
I'm curious on how it's going to be.
Yes, good.
That's my curiosity.
That's the curiosity at the moment. Okay, yep. And let me just say that, over the next 2 or 3 weeks, it's your job to make choices and to carry out a little bit of research or pre-research to help you get to the position. So in 3 weeks' time, you need to sort that out. It needs to be that
The particular one.
this is the project that I want to work on. What about you? And we haven't given you as much time to think about it, but is there something that you're curious about, that you've perhaps in your study so far, you've thought, I'd like to get back to that and do a little bit more work?
In terms of in this research,
Yes.
basically I'm interested in like the tourism sector.
Okay.
Yeah, because like in Bhutan we like, so tourism is a source of our revenue for us, but what I feel is like how long we will be depending on tourism. So yeah, like finding other ways to generate the revenues as well. So,
Good.
it's not a fix, but right now I feel we know this one.
I've given you 3.5 minutes to come up with an idea. You don't have to stick with it.
Alright.
But in 3 weeks' time, you need to anchor it down because you need to start working on it. Okay? Now, if I can say some more things about research. Frederick will be conducting research over the equivalent of 6 months full time. You'll have a little less to do yours because it's a summer unit, more intensive. Frederick may choose to do. Here's one of the first distinctions about research. Now, you've conducted research for the last 2 years. Every time you get an essay question or a task, you conduct research. And you do that by, what are the inspirations or the material that helps you write and arrive at a persuasive conclusion? How do you do that? Or how have you done that so far?
You mean like
Yes. Yeah.
Unit ratings.
Pardon?
Unit ratings.
Because the assignments like questions and topics were very straightforward, like go through readings and all.
Okay.
Nothing much deep stuff.
Okay, so the first thing you had is a research or an assignment topic or question. Yeah? And in the past that's been set for you. This time you need to set it for yourself, excuse me. In the past, what have been your sources? How have you researched for your essays?
Before doing bachelor's, like was nothing as such. Just go through the readings and all that through like libraries and all.
Yes, good, good. So, and in your coursework,
Yeah.
most of the time, you're being asked to draw on the literature.
Yeah.
So you're researching what you can find out by going online. You sometimes, I mean, in a coursework environment, you'll be often given a series of readings, and then you'll be invited to go to the library, go online, and that's how you research for your essays. This time, for you, you'll be doing the same, except for you won't be given readings. So usually rewarded for doing independent research work. Even though the question's set for you, you're encouraged to read beyond what's provided. And again, that's what's be going on in the project unit for you. Frederick he'll be going in a different direction. He'll be going deeper, and he might actually set out other research methodologies. But for you, your research methodology for your project will be the literature, reading the literature. Again, going to the library, going online, using journals, etc.
So do we need to read different literature as long as we put them in their reference?
Yes, like like essays,
Yeah.
you'll be expected to regularly in-text cite and then provide fuller references at the end.
Okay.
So it'll be no different. Your project report will be like an essay. It'll be longer, and you'll be going a little bit deeper. If you like, in a normal unit, a coursework unit, an essay might be worth 40%. In this unit, it's worth, I'll get that. That's right, 70%. So you're not having to conduct research methodologies, and actually you mustn't conduct research methodologies that has you talking to people or having any direct contact with people. If you're doing that at university, you need to go through a human ethics research process. You may choose to do that. You may not. You might choose not to do that. There is a lot of work, a lot of things to find out from the literature. And in community development, I will encourage you to think about the literature in its broadest sense. Not just simply referee journal articles. So you may choose, actually, particularly you two, will probably choose to use material that's available in the public record in other sources, so websites, as well as journal articles. So you will be encouraged to go to a broad array of literature. And we'll talk later about what constitutes how much and what constitutes good scholarship. Any questions so far? So the first thing you need to do is to choose a topic, and then from there you need to choose. It's probably good to think of it will be necessary for you to either think of a research question or a topic. So you've got that as your aim. So turning your general interest or curiosity into a question. Any other questions about what we've said so far? Okay, let's go to the formal assignments. So the research report, we'll call it, it's an essay. The final thing that you produce will be worth 70%, and it'll be due at the the end of the summer period, which is I've got down as the 30th of January. So that's the end, and the most substantial piece of work. And the second assessment is really your preparation work. It's what I call a project proposal or a plan. So that's worth 30%. And at the moment I've said, let's try and aim for the 12th of December. So the idea, and we can be flexible about this, but the idea is that pretty soon you'll submit this piece of work, which is your preparation or your plan for the work that you're going to conduct. And I've set out, and I'll come back to this, the sort of things that you should include in that plan. But it should be around about 1,000 words. And the idea is that you get that done soon, definitely before Christmas, so that you've got a month and a half to carry out the substantial piece. So together, the project report's around about 3,500 words. So it's a long essay, or a longer essay. I mean, what's the biggest essay piece that you've written in terms of words?
And 7,000.
Oh, 7,000. Oh, wow. Okay. Okay. And you?
I think 3,000.
3,000. Yeah. 1,500. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you've done this before. You've done half of it before. But also, if you were to, that was just for one essay, it was probably worth about 30%. You've done a whole lot of extra work, and if people have done my units and they've completed their online weekly journals, discussion pages, they've usually got often 3,000 to 4,000 words. So the word limit's not going to be a challenge, I promise you. We can talk later about the project report and how I suggest that you structure it, but it's in the study guide. The work in preparation for it, the next piece of work, I'm also going to encourage people to come along and present for 5 minutes. And the idea of that presentation isn't so much that we put you under pressure, but that so we can have a discussion so that other people can answer the question, oh, what does your project make me think about?
Yeah.
And so I could do that too. So as well as having some ideas, we're giving you some additional ideas. Now, whether you chase up those ideas are up to you, but really it's a chance to share how we're going and to share our inspirations. Oh, you're interested in tea. Well, I've read this book about tea. It might or might not be useful for you. So it's that kind of discussion that we'll have. My plan is for 2 weeks' time. We come back together and you just present. And you present what you're proposing up to this point. And then a week or so later, so after you've had a chance for some feedback, you submit it as your project proposal. Yeah? Does that make sense? So that's around about the 12th of December. So there's two things that you're doing. Well, the most important is that you're putting together a project proposal, and in that proposal you set out what you're going to be doing, what you're going to be aiming for in your final report, which is due at the end of January. So what you're doing for the next month and a half. And you present, have a 2 to 5 minute discussion setting out what you're going to do, and we give you some extra, any thoughts that we have. And it'll be my job to say, have you thought about reading this, or have you thought about going in this direction? So it's not criticism, it's a gift. Yeah.
So we meet for the presentation before we submit.
Yes. So we and we can, the aim at the moment is the 12th of December, that kind of week, but we can push that back a bit. We have these discussions together, and anyone that's had me as a unit coordinator knows that these dates are set to aim for. If there's things that get in the way, then we push them along. Okay, perhaps. So here's what in the study guide I've suggested that you have in your project proposal. So in it, the first thing you need to do, and how you come to this is going to be important, but the first thing you need to do is to set out a clear topic or a question. I'd encourage you, it helps us often to have a question, because when we get lost in our research, it's good to have a question that we stick up in our bedroom or our study that goes, oh, that's right, that's what I'm doing. And it's one of the things that you'll bring to the next session that we have together, so that we can talk about it. We might adjust it a bit, and I might make suggestions. But the first thing you do is you have a question that reflects your curiosity and that acts as a guide for your research. It's what you're wanting to answer in your final proposal. I'd also encourage you to have a short discussion of how this area is important, or where this curiosity came from. A bit like, so what? So what's the relevance of your interest in, for example, the economics of tea in Kenya? You're interested in the project, you're interested in a different sort of a project. How is this important? And here, it would be good for you to draw on the literature, or to bring in other people who are saying how this is important. So, first question is, what's the research question? Or what's the topic to be examined? And the second is, how is this important? So what? What? And does that make sense? Yep. The third is a short discussion of how you plan on examining the work. Now, mostly that's going to be a review of the literature. So it will be good for you at this point to be able to talk about the kinds of places that you'll go looking and the kinds of sources. And the next thing that we're after is what I call a provisional list of references. So you do a first go at where some of the material might be. You don't have to read it. Well, you probably read the abstract or the introduction and go, oh, that's going to help me. So the provisional list includes the full reference details. In other words, you're saying, okay, at this point in time, this is what I'm going to read. Now, when it comes to the 30th of January, we're hoping that you would have read other material, because the whole purpose of reading, or no, not the whole purpose, one of the purposes of reading good academic researched, sourced articles is that you'll discover other people who are interested in that area as well. So when I read an article on community development with Aboriginal communities, I'm always looking for who they've cited. And I'll go through the list and go, oh, I've read that. Oh, I haven't read that. So that'll stimulate my curiosity to send me in the direction of that material. But for your research plan, a provisional list of work to be read. You don't have to read it, but you do have to do enough research to identify, say, about 10 articles. What's another word for provisional? Provisional.
What do you mean by like professional? Like?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. What do we mean by provisional? I've used the term provisional. In my mind, and here's some other words. An initial list. Or a list that's your first list. It's a list that's not the final one. It's the list that you come up with after doing 2 weeks of research work, going online and going, okay, well, doing some searches. Doing some searches with keywords and having a look at the abstract and maybe having a look at the reference list. So it's your first go of a list of things, or another way of saying is a list of things that you're proposing to read. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So this is in your plan. You're saying, this is what the question is. This is how it's important. This is where I'm going to go to look for more material. And this is some of the material that I'm going to read. The next section, and I'm happy for people to use this as structure for their plan. I'd encourage you to. The next is a short discussion of what you think you may find. So this is going, okay, I've got this curiosity, I've done a little bit of research. I think it might conclude this about the tea in Kenya. But it's not your final word. And the final thing that I'd encourage you to do is to set out a draft structure of the final report. Now, you might want to look at the kind of structure that I set out for the final report. And I'm happy for people to use headings. And in a way, I'm asking you in your plan to set out what you think might be some headings.
So, like for the headings, we don't have like, we can't have the same. Do we have like the same or will be different?
Well, really the same to the description that's there. Yeah. Oh, no. Look, there's just general headings here. You want to
like
have
the introduction, literature review, the discussion, and
it might be good to say, okay, to have a think about, let's use your example. All right, well, you would start with an introduction. Then you might give a bit of a background to the history of tea in Kenya.
Yeah.
And this is just an example. You might go, well, there's research that talks about the history of the colonisation of Kenya and the role of the British East India Company. So that might be part of the history and background. There might be some work that you get from economists talking about the distance between what people are paid and what they sell for.
Yeah.
And then you might have some political economy of the circumstances. And then you might have a section where people are analysing or coming up with explanations for why there is this occurring. So that's just off the top of my head. You'll have, but that'll depend on what you find in the literature. And part of your reading will be to discover things that you hadn't known were there. So setting out what some of those things might look like. Again, it's provisional. So it's your first guess. And what we'll be looking for is some shift as between there and your final report. Any other questions about those? So they're the things that we'll be looking for you to prepare, and really we want now, well, in a moment we'll talk about when we come together the week after next, but when we come together, you won't be expected to have completed that, but you'll give a little presentation about those elements so that we can stimulate discussion and help you complete that. Does that make sense? Any questions? No?
So for this 1,000 words, it's just like the proposal. Do we need to write just 1,000 words? This is my proposal.
Yeah, look,
We
that's
don't have to go into details.
You don't have to go into details.
Okay.
This is your plan for what you'll be doing to complete a full research project.
Okay.
And
And then we include the references that we are
Include-
going to.
include the references, yes. So that's in. So let me go through again what I recommend you have in your project proposal. The first thing is that you have a clear question or a theme. Something for you to aim at. Something when you get a little bit lost, you go back to it and say, no, this is what I'm interested in. A short discussion of how this is important to you and important to everyone. Well, not everyone, but important to Kenya, for example. A short discussion of how you're going to find material. And that's going to be pretty short because your methodology is going to be based on the literature. You're going to read the literature. So how are you going to find it is the question. The next is a list of some of the things that you found already. A list of things that you are intending to read.
That is under literature review.
Yes. Yes. No, you don't have to do a review of the literature at this point. You just need to identify what the literature is that you're going to look at. A short discussion of what you think you might find, and hopefully there's a difference between that and what you find. But have a go at what you think. It's a bit like you're coming up with your first guess. Or in some kinds of research, you're sort of framing a hypothesis, or you're framing a provisional conclusion. And then finally, a draft structure of your report. So we'll have, in 2 weeks' time, you will have, I'd suggest that you have a draft of this and that we come together and we have a discussion and you present what you think it will be in that, and we'll add. We'll offer you our gifts.
Just for process, right?
About the project report, but I'll say them again, and I'll encourage you to have another look at them in the study guide about your final research project report. It's like an essay. There's not a lot that you're doing that you haven't already done in preparing of your essays. What's different this time is that you're in the driver's seat. So I'm not telling you what the research question is. I'm not providing you with literature. I'm not the one setting your project. You are. So your report should have these things in it, but exactly how it's structured is going to depend upon what you find out. So it needs to have an introduction. And in your introduction, you need to set out the topic or the question. And what's going to be in the report. Just like a conventional introduction. And it should have, of course, a conclusion where you reflect on those things. In your main body, you need to have a detailed review of the literature that you've read. And I've said in brackets what you found in relation to your research question.
Sorry. In my conclusion, do I need to have another, like, if I have like, should I put in the conclusion, like, what the government of Kenya needs to do? Is it in my conclusion or in my...
Yeah, that's a good question. Normally a conclusion, you shouldn't be saying anything for the first time. So the structure, the three-part structure of an essay is similar to the three-part structure of a thesis or a journal article. So the first part of the structure, in your introduction, you say what you're going to say.
So I just give my views.
The second part is you say it. The third part, you say what you've said. So in your main body, you should be saying everything there. Your introduction and your conclusion are a restating of it. And it comes out of a strange culture. Well, I think the main reason for this is that if you say something once, it's a bit like if you've got children or nephews and nieces who are a bit young. If you tell them to walk across the road, go to the edge of the pathway, look right, look left, look right again. If you tell them once, they might not be listening. If you tell them twice, you should expect them to understand. If you tell them 3 times, then if they haven't understood, they weren't listening and it's their fault. So if you're thinking about writing, for me, if you make your point once in the introduction, I'll go, okay, but I might have been drifting off. Or I might not have been so clear about what you're saying. If you say it twice in your main body and more deeply, you should expect me to understand. Just to make sure you'll say it the 3rd time. So it's the idea of the value of reinforcing. And it's no more than that. So an introduction should be short, where you say what you're going to say, and in this case, you need to be clear what the topic is, what you're writing about. This essay is about. In the main body, and I'll talk about the structure in a second, that's where you make your points, and in your conclusion you just reiterate. So if you're going to say something about what the Kenyan government should do, it should be in the main body.
Okay.
And then you reiterate it. Review of the literature. what you found. One metaphor that I use is imagine you're taking me for a walk through the forest. You grab me by the hand, I'm walking a little bit behind you, and as you're going, you're pointing out where you've been. You've been on this track before, and you're pointing out things to me. So I'm using a metaphor illustrating. So you don't have to take me by the hand, but you walk me through, you give a report of what you've read, what you've found out. In this case, about your question. And I would encourage people when they're reviewing their project to look through, if there are any paragraphs where you haven't cited, either take the paragraph out or more usefully, find a citation. So you're taking me by the hand, instead of taking me through the forest, you're taking me through on the path of where you read, and as you're pointing things out, you make sure you cite. So Peter Westerby said this about tea in China.
Yeah.
So the second part is that you review the literature. In other words, what you found out. The third thing I encourage you to do is to think about the relevance of what you've found out to the study of your degree, your masters. So in this case, for all of you, hang on, are you community development? In the study guide, a discussion of the relevance of your study to your knowledge of community development practice. You need to change that to sustainable development.
Okay.
So you go, okay, I found these things out, and then you have another discussion about, well, how is this relevant to all that I've studied so far? Well, for you, it's all that you've studied. So what you've learned, so the first thing you do is to say, this is what I've found in relation to my topic. The next thing you do is you say, this is what I've learned that adds to community development, sustainable development. And then you include a conclusion, where again, you revisit what you've said in the main body. Now, the section where you review the literature will probably have sections within it. And those sections will depend on what you've found. But we're happy for you to use headings. I've added that the paper should be referenced well. One of the key things that I reward is depth and breadth of scholarship. In other words, how much you've read and how much depth you've gone into that material. Yeah. I've also added that, and we've said this before, but I'll say it again. Different people call this, have different names for it. Some talk about the old Greek ideas of skepticism. Others talk about, they use the term critical analysis. I prefer the word curiosity, but what you're doing is you're going deep and you're not taking anything that you read for granted. And again, that's another advantage of reading widely. You can read this person and compare it with that person. And that act helps build the strength of your work.